I love saying it like that. Pastor Jermal Witherspoon. How are you doing, my friend?
I am well, sir. How are you?
Good.
It's good to be in your presence.
Well, you know what? We're always very busy folks, but I'm just happy just to see you. Um, Last time we spoke heavily, well, we speak on the phone, but last time we spoke in the studio, we were talking about Liberation Church, and I want to kind of circle back to that. What is Liberation Church, and where can it be found?
Liberation Church is really a spiritual beacon of healing. And right now in Liberation's life, it is really doing the work of liberation in the queer community. I believe that in this very moment, God is doing a work, the divine is doing a work, she's doing a work that is so expansive, that so involves God's queer children in such a deep way, a revival of sorts. And so, liberation, I believe, is stewarding a revival, calling God's queer children back to what has always belonged to them, which is spirituality, which is the church. The scripture says that there is a moaning and a groaning of the earth, waiting for the children of God to come back into their rightful places. And so I believe that we will be, when God's queer children, those who have been minoritized, pushed to the side, those who have been cast away, specifically, though, in this moment, those of Black and brown bodies, those of queer and trans and same gender loving and right these experiences, those of the LGBTQIA experiences, liberation is doing the work to bring us back home.
And I think that it's so important just to create that space for folks, right? Especially with the climate. And I know I talked to Squeak about this earlier this week, just about O'Shea Sibley and how tragic that was for our community. Have y'all been able to create space for that? And how did you feel when you got that news?
You know, I try not to become desensitized, considering the fact that there is so much loss in our community, considering the fact that we suffer so much in our community. And I've been taken back, honestly, in these past 2 weeks, just really blown away because I'm feeling the loss of our community in the earth in ways that I've not actually felt before. And I'm feeling the loss as I'm looking into my siblings' eyes and those who I love and those who I am fostering community with that are already broken, right? That are already some in pieces. I see the loss and I see the pieces that are being taken from them as our siblings are being taken from this earth. And so I think a part of this work is really doing the work so that we can live and we can live more abundantly, and so that we can build safe space and space that is healing and that will contribute to our wholeness.
And I think that that is really important. And we are people that grew up in this community. Um, have you been able to create that safe space for even for yourself, even as a pastor? I look at who you are, right? And you literally grew up in the church a mile away from where you have a church now. Um, have you been able to create a safe space for yourself? Because sometimes we don't even ask that for pastors, right?
Yeah, so truth is, I'm a bridger, right? I've been called to it. I've been called to navigate different spaces. And I've been in different spaces, different times of my existence. And I really do believe that folks have revelation for where they are. They open themselves up, right, to what is beautiful, what is conscious, what is right for them in the spaces that they're in. And I have been intentional about um, making sure that all who know me see the goodness of God, right? And see the love of God and see the inclusivity of God, because that's where God has placed me. And I have no malice or no ill will or no issue with any other space that I've come out of, because I've come out of it, right, gaining such beautiful things. And one of those things is the knowledge of where I don't want to be,
Okay.
right? Ever again. in bondage and in ways and in spaces that would cause me to be anything less than who God has called me to be, because I've realized that indeed, if I am going to worship her, the divine God of truth, I must worship him in divine spirit, and I must worship them in truth. And so I do that intentionally, and I bridge intentionally, and I love intentionally, because my hope is that all would come into the most purest. I am coming into it. I'm not all, just because I'm open and affirming doesn't mean that I don't have some things that I have to work on. And so my prayer is that we all come into the fullest truth of God's love that we can actually hold on to in this earth.
And I strongly believe that. And I think that with this event that y'all have coming up Sunday will really give community throughout this specific Northwest Black Pride weekend. Will really just give community members some access to that. And we're going to unpack a little bit more of that, because you just don't pre-show, you preach other spaces, but we really want to unpack Sunday through this P&W Black Pride Week, right? And we'll unpack all those things in a few. You're watching The Day with Trae.
Hey guys, Besa Gordon here. Right now I am with my exclusive fam, and in case you missed it, August is National Black Business Month. So of course, Converge Media is going to uplift different black businesses across the Pacific Northwest, and we want for you to nominate your favorite by going to whereweconverge.com/Black Business Month. Again, that is whereweconverge.com/Black Business Month. And honestly, you never know. Girl might pull up.
Hi, I'm Chelsea Richardson, spoken word artist. Come be a part of Poetry's Love Story and join us for a captivating fundraiser event, Poetry Love, on August 9th from 6 to 9 p.m. at the Sankofa Theater. This event will feature an incredible lineup of renowned poets and one mesmerizing musician, all coming together to raise funds for the Sankofa Theater. Tickets are available now at sankofatheaterc.com. We'll see you there.
Hey, I'm Besa Gordon. You may have heard my voice on Hits 106.1 or seen me on Converge Media, but now I'm coming to TV. I'm hosting the newest show on Fox 13 called Back to Besa. Check us out every weekend for the hottest topics, interviews, the latest trends, and uplifting stories. We're going to have so much fun, and teens, we got you too. Back to Besa Saturday nights, 10:30 on Fox 13, and Sundays at 10 a.m. on Fox 13 Plus.
And we're back with The Day with Trae. I am here with Pastor. You giving us a word today, Jermal Witherspoon. And, you know, brother, you wear very many hats. And, you know, one of the things that I have not asked you is you are part of the board of directors for Pocan. And you've been there for, I want to say, at least 5 years. And what has that experience been like for you? And just the work that Pocan has been doing in general. So I have to thank the board of directors and the staff in that space. So
Yeah, you know, I actually have not been on the board of directors for 5 years. I've just been close. And because I was so close, the Honorable Stephen Sawyer, the executive director of Pocan, invited me into the space, and it was one of the best decisions that I've made. I just couldn't imagine walking so closely to an organization that I honored so much and not being a part of its foundation. And so I am blessed to be a part of Pocan and be on the board of Pocan. I'm blessed to see what it does. I am blessed to see Pocan doing the work in real time. I won't tell you the full story, but I have been able to send folks to Pocan, and I have been able to make a call, and I have seen Pocan work in real time for so many people, and I back it with my life, because it is such a beautiful entity for our people, and it is so needed.
it is very much needed. And even the work that you're doing, not just with Pocan, but even with P&W Pride. Now, this Sunday, I've already talked to Araya about it, but I want to hear your standpoint, because you called community with the idea a couple of weeks ago, and then now it is coming to be. What is the event, and how can community support?
Yeah, so it is an interfaith service. I mean, the core of who we are, especially as Black queer people, the majority of us is our spirituality. We've been locked out of spaces that could not honor the fullness of who we are. But we were never locked out of the heavenlies. We were never locked out of the spirituality that God had given us and has given us, and that belongs to us. I said earlier, right, I made mention of the scripture that says that the earth is groaning, waiting for the children of God to take their rightful places. We are creating space intentionally, because you should know that your space, though it is a beautiful space, is not only right at the party. Your space, though it is a beautiful space, is not only walking a runway. Your space, though it is a beautiful space, is not only in the spaces that have taken you in traditionally, but there is a space. There is a spiritual space of healing that God is calling you to in God's self, that will help and assist you in those times when no one is there, when the crowd is not there, when the people are not there. There is a God who has never left nor forsaken you that you can call on in the time of trouble. And we want to bring that God, not that God ever left you or you ever left it, but back to the forefront of your being, so that you can live holistic, well lives centered in good spirituality. Because oftentimes we have seen what bad spirituality can do. We've seen what bad religion can do. We've seen it firsthand. It causes folks to end lives. And so we want to give what is life-giving.
And that give is so important.
Mm-hmm.
I am so excited about this specific event, and I thought it was even more symbolic to not only, of course, Araya is amazing, but to also your host of the event, Brick. How did that come to be?
So I love Brick. You hear me? I know Brick in Brick's former life. And if this is going to be an interreligious service, let's make it interreligious. First of all, I think that we all come from one source. And so this is a way in which I believe we tap on the different understandings of how we find the God of our understanding, right? And Brick is so sensual and loving and beautiful, and she calls the queer community with her body and her mind and her love. And so I figured that she is indeed a spiritual practitioner, much like I am. I call her pastor. I call them Pastor Brick. And I just think that collaboration will be such a beautiful one. And again, the people that have been in spaces that they love, that they've honored, that have caused such hurt, deserve to come back home. And I am asking that the people come back home. Come home to the place where indeed you never had to leave, or you should have left, right? The place wherein the physical building that sometimes could not honor who you were in your wholeness. Come to the place now where God dwells, the place where God affirms.
And I love that this is happening, especially with the climate that's happening right now, to kind of highlight during the Black Pride weekend, right? So my last question is, what does Black Pride mean to you?
So to me, I want to say one thing, because we did not actually talk about our honoring of our trans siblings. Yeah. Because I think, first of all, Black Pride to me says that I do not perpetuate systems of violence, the same ones that have been actually perpetuated in my life. And one of those is acting like people do not exist because I am not a part of their existence in the way in which would cause me to have to walk down the street as them, right? Like to believe, right, that there are groups of people, because I am not directly in that category, that I am not affected by what affects them. We are all here together. And for the trans community, some of the best people that I know, some of the folks who I cherish the most, one being Oriah, is of that community and that experience. And oftentimes I think we focus on what is nearest to us, right? I focus on I'm unapologetically a queer, same gender loving Black man. And, right, I have seen my siblings of trans experience be totally shunned. And so I said, we're going to honor, not only honor, but we're going to affirm. Now, y'all don't need me to affirm you. You are who God has called you to be. From the beginning of the earth, God knew that you would be who you were and transition into who you have always been. Now, what you do need, if you would open up your heart, is the affirmation of a loving God again. Not that God stopped affirming you, but that you could not see it because of the stuff that convoluted God's voice.
Absolutely.
And so what we are doing is we are affirming the trans community. And we are saying, first off, that God affirms you, that God knows you by your name, does not call you by your dead name, knows you by who God has called you to be and who God is transitioning you into. And we want to honor that. We want to honor the beauty of what God is doing. Because oftentimes out there they will say, you are doing this, right? You are altering the will of God. No, you are completing the will of God in your life. And so we want to honor that. We also want to honor the changing of names.
Yeah.
We want to honor the fact that someone may have never told you, especially in spiritual community, that who you are is affirmed by God, and that the name that you have is special to God, and God calls you by that. And so we want to make sure that the people of God leave this space. Y'all don't have to ever come back to Liberation again. I hope you do. But you will leave the space knowing that when rubber meets road, you've got a space of healing, that you are family, and that you are welcome to.
And that's pride as well. So you answered the question. Well, I appreciate you so much for coming today. You know, you are Converge family. I appreciate you're my family, and I just appreciate all the work that you do. You are part of a legacy, and you lead with heart, and I just love you for that. Now, if you could do me a favor, give community that call to action right here on that right camera. Let them know where to show up. Let them know who you are and where they can get more information.
All righty. I am Pastor Jermal Witherspoon, and I pastor Liberation United Church of Christ, 832 32nd Avenue, Seattle, Washington, 98122. Meet us next Sunday this coming Sunday, actually, at 1 o'clock, 832 32nd Avenue, Seattle, Washington. Please, 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 if you would like to be honored, if you are a person of trans experience and you would like to be honored and celebrated, please do email me at pastor, PASTOR, at myluck, MYLUCC.org. Pastor at myluck.org. You can find us on our website, mylucc.com. You can also look us up on social media, Facebook, and all of the things.
All the things.
All of the things. All of the
I
things.
appreciate you so much, brother. Thank you for coming down. And we are going to take one